I'm Nick Lolatgis. In my years of practicing as an infertility specialist, there are times when you get gobsmacked at what some couples go through to achieve a pregnancy. Sometimes the journey isn't easy, sometimes it is difficult, but there's always a solution. There's always a way of getting that child. It's up to you whether you want to go on that journey.
I was so desperate, well, James and I were so desperate for a baby that I was a complete emotional mess the whole time. So, and I probably will be up here as well, so I'll apologise for that, but I'm sure you'll all relate to it. We had been down the IVF journey for about 2 years with another specialist, and a bit like Kate described, her, I guess, distaste of that industry is that we just did one egg after another, 12 times, one embryo after another, 12 times. Every time we put one in and it didn't work, the specialist would just say, okay, I'll see you again next month, and we'll do it all again. So I just thought, oh, that's obviously normal. So we did that time and time again, we did it, and then it sort of dawned on me, it's just ridiculous to keep doing this and putting yourself through that enormous emotional investment and financial, but emotional was sort of the harder part for me, but to do it over and over again. And I'd sit in her office and she'd say, okay, it didn't work, so let's do it again. And she was so positive about the fact that it didn't work. So my acupuncture lady, who I'd been going to see every time we had a transfer and preparing my oven for 18 months, she kept saying to me, you've got to go and see Nick. She said it from about 2 months in. You've got to go and see Nick, you've got to see Nick. For whatever reason, I didn't. Early on, I guess I felt that we had all these frozen embryos with this other specialist, and I felt somehow obligated. I could have transferred them across, I guess, but obligated to continue that process. So we did. So we kept going, and she, every time I saw Amanda, she'd say to me, you got to go and see Nick. Anyway, finally we used our last embryo, which again didn't work, and I felt like I was then free from this person and I could go and see Nick. So I was a bit jaded from the whole process, but I'd heard nothing but amazing things about him, and as soon as I met him I thought, yeah, he's the man. He was exactly like Kate said, straight up, really honest about things. He looked through all of our tests and all of our results and things that we had, and he basically said, don't know why she bothered. So, 18 months of emotional investment, 12 embryos, and don't know why she bothered. Would have been nice to know that a little bit earlier. However, it was all meant to be. So we said to Nick, so what now? And he said, well, I'm going to do a collection and a transfer, and we'll see what happens. So we did that, put 2 in, failed. So I was expecting to then go and do it again and again and again, because that's what had happened before. And Nick said, hold your horses, we're not doing that, we're doing heaps of tests. And he did. So he did heaps of tests. I don't think I ever had a test with the previous specialist. After 12 failed transfers, no tests were done. So Nick did this whole series of tests, and I remember precisely he rang me one day and he said, I'm gobsmacked. So, okay, why? And he said, because I don't even know what the stats are, Nick, but they're way off the sort of planet, aren't they, in terms of the rarity of it, the chances. So James and I had tested positive to what's called the DQ alpha gene. I had no idea what that was, but I got on good old Google and found out that basically he and I have a genetic match. This is the layman's description of it. We have a genetic match, so some people say brother from another mother, but we're actually not brother and sister. So genetic match, which basically means that when we make an embryo and we put it into my body thinks it's part of me, but foreign, cancer, kills it. Which explains why, is that a good description, Nick? Yeah. Explains why I had really high levels of natural killer cells, which the previous specialist doesn't believe in. They don't exist according to that specialist, but Nick's obviously a massive one on these natural killer cells. So he said, we've got to sort out your natural killer cells. Anyway, the process went on a little bit, and he'd mentioned a couple of times donor eggs. And I was all for it. I was like, yep, whatever it takes to... If someone delivered a baby onto my front doorstep, I'd look after it. I would think that's my child. But my partner was a little harder to convince. He was like, but what if we get a really bad one? he's got a 17-year-old and a 19-year-old. The 19-year-old is really bad. I said, look at your own genetic material. Look at her. Look how she turned out. And she's you. She's part of you. So he sort of got his head around that. The other analogy that I use, which I don't know, some people can relate to, some people can't. We've got a little dog called Luigi. And I said to James, do you love Luigi? He said, yeah, of course I love Luigi. I said, well, he's not your. You love him? So that was the turning point. So we went and had another meeting with Nick, explained it a bit more, and we said, yep, we're doing this. We're gonna have a baby. And the statistics, as Kate said, were incredible, 70% or whatever it is. I wasn't going to give up ever. Like a client said to me once, when are you just going to give up and just realise that you can't have a baby? I said, never, ever. But thank God we met Nick, because he made it all happen. So this was 2 years ago, May 2 years ago, and we were all planned to go to Athens in Christmas of that year. Then I had a back issue, needed to have a back surgery, couldn't have back surgery and then jump on a plane because I wouldn't be able to sit for 6 weeks. Everything just was out, timing was out, it was all wrong. And so I was devastated. Had planned this, Athens trip at Christmas time, which is when I get the most amount of time off work. Thought, yep, that's great. Didn't work. Okay, when's the next time we can go? So again, we talked about it with Nick, and he said, let's just, it's so easy with Nick. It's just, nothing's an issue. So we decided, okay, we'll go in June, July, which is another time that I can at least have a few weeks off work. So I had the most amazing motivation to get my back right. So I was so compliant with all my surgeon's instructions, and it was all good. So no issues there, which was important when you're considering potentially carrying a baby. So we embarked on our journey. As Kate said, I took all the tablets, all the drugs, everything that Nick told me to do, went and sat over in Clayton for hours and hours on end with this white milky stuff dripping into my arm, literally for hours. We did that a dozen times, sitting there with all these other women who were telling all their IVF stories and journeys, and take my hat off to some of them, who have been doing it for like 10 years. It's amazing. So we were right. Nick did our oven, was all prepared. We were off and running. We filled out our forms. James would sort of joke and say that when you fill out your brown eyes and your blonde hair or whatever it is that you've got, that they just throw a curveball in and give you something that didn't match at all. Anyway, we had no say in that. We just had to. We were in the lap of the gods. We just had to trust that the process would work, and if it was meant to be, it would be. So we went to Athens. And somebody said to me, make sure you think of it as a holiday. Don't be completely focused on embryos and drugs and all of this, because if it doesn't work, then you'll feel even more devastated. So just let go of that. We've done everything we can until now. I've prepared my body. I'm in the best hands I could be in. If it's meant to be, it'll be. So I did everything I could. So we went to Athens with the attitude of, let's have a great holiday. What an amazing place to have an opportunity to go. I openly told some people what we were doing, which in a way was great because I got the support, but in the other way it was not so great because everyone's just waiting for that text to come through. Are you pregnant? Are you pregnant? Are you pregnant? So it's sort of up to individuals as to how you handle that. But I wanted people to know that what we were doing, because firstly, we needed that emotional support, but secondly, I think women need to know and couples need to know that there are these options out there. So if it's all a big secret and no one knows about egg donors, then some people would go down this journey not knowing that it's available and maybe miss their opportunity. So I was very open about it, and we still are open about telling people about our journey. So went to Athens. I won't go through all of that because Kate's covered off on it, but basically it's chaotic. You get to this place, the Genesis Centre, which, yes, the taxi drivers all know about it, and there's like photos of babies everywhere. You walk in and you have a giggle about some of them, and you sort of think, I wonder what we're going to get. And it's all a bit of an exciting mystery. We did have our very quick meeting with Dr Pantos, and he was fantastic. All of the team were amazing. Like, nothing was... They speak a little bit of English, so you have to get your head around that, but it was very systemised. Go over there, wait there. At one stage in the morning, I'd said to James, okay, let's go to the clinic and then we'll go because I was in charge of where we're going for lunch and dinner. Then we'll go here for lunch. We left the clinic at 5 o'clock that afternoon. Like, he's sitting around for ages waiting for things to happen, and all of the people that they're seeing, blood tests here, scans there, this, that, whatever. So that whole process you've sort of heard all about, but through Kate, and it was very accurate. So we stayed in Athens, and we were there literally right at the time that the Greek financial crisis was happening, like the referendum. We were there for that week in June, July last year. So that was all a bit exciting, and we did all the touristy things and that sort of thing. And I was again completely compliant with 3 days, hardly moved after the embryos had been transferred, rest and all of that sort of stuff. And then after 3 days, we were allowed to go if we wanted to. So it was a little bit hard to plan, because you don't know exactly how long you're going to be in Athens for. So we had our flights booked there and our flights booked home, but nothing basically booked beyond Athens. And we knew that we had about a week up our sleeve where we had to go and just enjoy and relax. So once we knew we could leave, we went to Santorini. Not such a bad place to go and hang out. And just tried to chill as much as we possibly could, and just went for walks and that sort of thing. Then, the clock's ticking, and you think, okay, another 7 days, another 6 days, another 5 days till, the test. Sort of got used to those tests coming in. They were always negative. I could hear it in the nurse's voice even before she said that it was negative. But got back to Athens, waiting. I think I had to ring them actually at a certain time, and I could not believe it when she said, "You're pregnant." I'm like, "Are you sure?" Like, this has never happened before. And she was rattling off all these numbers that were all gobbledygook to me. I didn't know what she was talking about. And James was standing there, and I was bawling my eyes out. And he's like, is it? Yes, it is. And I had to ask her again. "So I'm actually pregnant?" She said, "Yeah, you are." So, see, I'm a lot more emotional than Kate about it. So anyway, then the excitement starts of, okay, we've got to wait though, because, and you think that you just have to wait for the first 14 days, and then the next, until you get to your 3 months. And it never stops. And somebody said to me, it's not just about getting to 3 months, it's about, the next part of it, and then the whole pregnancy, and then the birth, and then they're with you forever. Like, it's not just after the 3 months. It goes on forever. I'm like, oh yeah, it does too. So anyway, we got used to that. And came home. That was all fine. Everyone was very excited. But then it's just that waiting period of, is it going to stick? And we actually had 2 embryos transferred. Nick convinced us to have 2, which James was just saying, oh my God, if we end up with twins, like, let's just double our chances and do it. And Nick ended up saying to James, which was fantastic, I sometimes recommend putting 8 in. And James is like, 2's fine. We'll do 2. And I've secretly got my fingers crossed that we'd have twins. Anyway, I've thought differently about that the last 10 weeks. My goodness, such hard work, although it would be amazing, it would be a blessing. So one of our embryos didn't work. One of them did. So I had a dream pregnancy. That was all fine. And, Nick was in contact all the time. We had all of our sessions. It was only a phone call away if we ever needed to sort of ask a question about something or... and then 10 weeks ago, this Thursday, we had a little girl. So, and I remember Nick delivered her. I had a C-section, and when he said to me, that's right, he held her over the top of the screen, and he said, "She's got a vagina. It's a girl." So, okay, we knew we were having a girl, but it was good to know she had a vagina. And he said, "Have you got a name?" I said, "We've got a name, yes, it's Poppy." And he said, "Oh, good Greek name," which I had no idea it was a Greek name. So, apparently. And it's amazing because so many people, a lot of people know about what we've been through, and that Poppy was egg and sperm, not just egg and sperm. Because James had said, if you're in, I'm in, let's just both do it, rather than having someone else's egg and his sperm, let's just, 100%. So we had a 22-year-old egg donor Again, we were told she's studying, so hoping that she has an amazing life because she's absolutely changed ours. And I think a 28-year-old sperm donor. So, you know, the health of those, the egg, the sperm, the embryo, we couldn't make an embryo. So somebody stupidly said to me once, why would you want a baby that you've got no genetic match to whatsoever? And I said, because I want a baby and I can't have my own, so why wouldn't I want that? Yeah, that did give me a lot of, carrying the baby did give me a lot of, I guess, comfort to know that it's my blood that's going through the baby. I'm actually growing the baby. The baby couldn't survive without me carrying it. And, you know, James was part of that process as well in terms of looking after me. So, yeah, we produced a beautiful little girl, and lots of people say, oh, she looks like you. Yeah. So she's got this mop of black hair. Spiky, she was born like that. Someone said, oh, it might turn blonde. I'm like, no, it'll turn blonde. Someone said the other day that she looks like James. She's got his eyes, like, yeah. But I think, but I don't want to embarrass those people and say she's actually a donor, because a lot of people know, but I don't want to put them on the spot and make them feel silly. But I think there's also an argument that the environment has a big influence. So it's not just about genetics. You know, you could have your own genetic material, you know, brought up in a completely different environment and have a completely different child. So I think we can influence how they're brought up, obviously, the environment that they're in, and I think that can probably, that's how we reasoned with it, I guess, that we're in complete control of that. We're not in control of genetics. James wasn't in control of his 19-year-old's naughty, bad, you know, genetics. He lost it. She might be his you know, genetic material, but she's a very naughty 19-year-old. So that's how we sort of found comfort and reason, and it was an easy decision for us. So it was the only real decision. We couldn't do anything else, and we're so thankful and grateful for the team, for Nick's team. I mean, he's changed our life. And I just hope that this process can go on and on and on, because all these little babies wouldn't be born, and we wouldn't have our little family if it wasn't for Nick and his team. But that's all I can say about the process. It's been an incredible journey, and we've got two more little embryos on ice, as in frozen, not on drugs, in Athens. And James doesn't know yet, but we're going back next year to put them together. Anyway, thank you.